Welcome to Cinepro, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. At the beginning of our story, we meet Noah, a young woman trying to enter a relationship. She's eagerly waiting for her romantic date, excitedly talking with her friend about preparations for the night. While sitting in her car, she starts to lose patience until the person she's waiting for finally arrives. They head together to a nearby restaurant. During dinner, the young man tries to impress Noah with his words, which seem to flow easily, but Noah feels that his words are fake and not sincere. This impression is confirmed even more when he offers to pay the bill, but she notices he takes the leftover food with him, which makes her see him as an insincere person. When he suggests seeing her again, Noah is straightforward and rejects the offer. His reaction to her refusal is quick, and he shows his rudeness before leaving. After the date, Noah is walking home, feeling like someone is watching her. She decides to confront the person behind her, but when she turns around, she discovers it's just a man quietly walking with his son. She feels relieved and decides to go to the gym, where she meets Molly. Amid laughter and exercise, Noah tells her about her experience. She admits her desire to find someone truly special. Molly, always supportive, offers comforting words and emotional support. Despite Molly's advice, which reminds Noah of her worth, Noah still feels an emotional emptiness that keeps her searching for a partner. After returning home, she enters the digital world of dating, scrolling through profiles in search of a real relationship. But no one catches her eye. Determined not to give in to loneliness, Noah decides to go to the mall, where she meets Steve. Steve starts talking to Noah, clearly intending to get her attention. Although she's initially hesitant, Steve's persistence leads her to give him her phone number. They start talking, and after a few calls, they plan to meet the next day. Noah shares all the details with Molly and prepares for her date at a bar, where fate brings them together with Paul, Molly's ex-boyfriend, who works at the bar. As the date progresses, Noah discovers that Steve, who is a surgeon, has surprising similarities with her life, like losing his mother and having a troubled relationship with his father in Texas. Noah shares her own story of loneliness and loss, and feels eager to know more about Steve's life, especially when he tells her he doesn't use social media. Their conversation intensifies, leading Noah to invite Steve to her place. The next day, Noah meets Molly again and tells her the details of the night she spent with Steve. Their conversation is full of laughter and deep reflections on the meaning of every encounter in their lives. They talk about the hopes and dreams that every new relationship brings. Molly is always worried about Steve and considers him a complete stranger, so she asks Noah to send her his social media account. But when she discovers that Steve doesn't have any online accounts, Molly's suspicions grow, since it's rare nowadays for someone not to be online. Noah tries to reassure her and explains how important Steve is to her, but this doesn't ease Molly's worries. That night, Noah organizes a dinner to introduce Steve to Molly, but tension is present from the start. Steve is a vegetarian, and Noah has prepared accordingly. While they're at Steve's place, he shares his plans to travel to a mysterious place and invites Noah to go with him. Filled with excitement and curiosity, she agrees without knowing the destination. Before starting the adventure, Noah shares the details with Molly, who is still worried about how quickly her friend got attached to someone she doesn't know. Molly even asks Noah to send her a photo of Steve, which Noah does before they leave. The next day, Noah and Steve are ready to travel, but heavy traffic delays them. Because of the traffic, they decide to spend the night at Steve's house. The next morning, they start their journey to the mysterious place, which Steve finally reveals is called the Counting Cabin. Noah is excited and tries to send the news to Molly, but there's no signal, so she can't send the message. Eventually, they arrive at the cabin, which is luxurious and in the middle of a forest. As soon as they enter, Steve offers Noah a drink. After drinking it, she starts to feel dizzy and eventually loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a strange room, tied up, with Steve sitting in front of her. Noah is confused and scared, apologizing for falling asleep, but he explains that she was actually drugged. At first, Noah thinks this is a bad joke by Steve, but the truth quickly becomes clear when she realizes she's imprisoned. In a state of anxiety, she asks Steve about his motives and why he's doing this. Although he tries to reassure her, terror and confusion completely overwhelm her. In a chilling atmosphere, Steve confirms in a somber voice that he won't kill or hurt her at that moment, but he plans to traffic her flesh on the black market. When Noah hears this, her mind collapses. He's involved in the human flesh trade and explains that, to ensure he gets a large amount of money, the meat has to be fresh, as freshly sold meat fetches high prices. That's why he decides to keep Noah alive and gradually cut off parts of her body to increase his profits. Filled with terror at her horrific fate, Noah desperately tries to escape, but her attempts fail because of the chains binding her. Steve coldly leaves her on the floor. Meanwhile, her friend Molly is dying of worry because she hasn't heard any news from Noah since she traveled. While trying to contact her, she receives a picture and a message suggesting Noah is safe and in a secure place, but it's actually Steve sending misleading information to create confusion. From a room next to Noah, she hears crying and pleas for help, In a tense and fearful conversation, she learns that the other prisoner's name is Penny, who was also kidnapped by Steve and is doomed to the same horrific fate. Penny reveals to Noah that Steve supplies human flesh to a group of cannibals, rich people with perverse tendencies to consume human meat. Thus, a terrifying network of trade and consumption is revealed, beyond anyone's imagination. Noah realizes that Steve has a bloody and horrific past. He had previously kidnapped other girls who were imprisoned in the same place she's in now. In the cell next to Noah are Penny, and beside her Melissa. Noah is terrified as she sees Penny mentally collapse from the daily torture Steve inflicts by regularly cutting pieces from her body. Amid her despair, Noah clings to the hope that someone will save them, but Penny shares a terrifying truth. The main point is that neither she, nor Melissa, nor even Noah, had any family who could look for them. He chose his victims well. He targeted girls who didn't have strong social connections. At the same time, Molly, who was anxious because there was no news from Noah, decided to look for Steve, which increased Molly's suspicions and made her determined to discover the truth. Molly started checking the picture that Noah had sent about the place she was in, and discovered that the picture was sent from the internet. This information confirmed Molly's worst fears, that Noah was in real danger. In the morning, Steve devoted his time with extreme precision to cutting parts from the girl's face, minute by minute, without any sign of regret. He wrapped each piece carefully and arranged all the masks he made to ship them in a box. Inside this box, he added photos of the girls and some personal items to give the buyer a complete picture of their identities. Despite the terror Noah was in, Steve brought her food, but she was afraid it might be human flesh, so she refused to eat. Steve would untie Noah's hands on the condition that she wouldn't try to escape. But at a moment when he was resting, Noah tried to escape. Steve caught her and slammed her against the wall. When Noah regained consciousness, she found herself on a surgical bed. Steve was dressed like a surgeon and ready to do something unpleasant. He removed tissue from the area of her hip, which made her unable to sit comfortably. Steve put a toilet in her cell for her to use. At the same time, Steve kidnapped another girl named Penny and took her to the operating room. At that time, Molly went to Steve's bar, planning to meet him for the first time. There, she met Polly the bartender and her former lover, and started asking him about Steve. Molly learned from him about the bar's rules that required recording the signature and location of every customer. But Polly, who was committed to the bar's policies, refused to share any details. He suggested that if she wanted to take action, she should go to the police and provide strong evidence. Nevertheless, realizing the seriousness of the situation, Polly decided to help Molly and gave her important information about Steve. With this information, Molly went back home and started searching for Steve on social media. Even though she couldn't find any active accounts, she discovered a page for Steve's wife, which surprisingly revealed Steve's current location. With this new information, Molly immediately went to Steve's house, but before she left, she informed Polly of her plan so he would know in case he needed to intervene. Meanwhile, Noah was left in a room with a magazine that contained a message from a previous victim. The message revealed something strange about Steve's personality. Even though his crimes were for financial gain, he sometimes became attached to some of his victims. He would share magazines and conversations with them if he felt something special towards them. This information made Noah realize she might be able to exploit Steve's feelings to buy time. At one point, Noah started calling out for Penny, but no one responded. She got scared but kept trying. Finally, Penny replied in a weak voice, but it was enough to give her hope in the darkness they were in. At that time, Molly arrived at Steve's house, but instead of meeting him, she was confronted by his wife. Molly revealed Steve's infidelities and his relationships with other women and his romantic adventures. But the wife denied everything Molly said and considered it all lies. Then Steve appeared, and when Molly asked him about Noah, he denied knowing her. Without concrete evidence, Molly was about to leave, but suddenly she had a smart idea. She decided to call Noah's phone, and when the phone rang in Steve's pocket, it exposed his deception. Unexpectedly, the wife appeared and struck Molly hard, causing her to lose consciousness. It became clear that the wife was also involved in Steve's schemes. Immediately, Steve turned off Molly's phone. At the same time, Polly, who was worried because Molly hadn't responded, felt that something dangerous had happened and started heading towards her. Then it was revealed that the wife herself had been a victim of Steve before he had crippled her legs, but despite that, she supported him. Steve went to his cabin and straight to the kitchen, where he had hidden the meal. Noah, realizing the possible consequences if she refused, reluctantly agreed to eat. During dinner, Steve tried to talk amicably and confessed to Noah that the first time he ate human flesh, he was 18 years old, and since then he had been looking for people with the same taste. Eventually, he found a community of cannibals who supplied them with meat, and he earned up to $30,000 for each body part. After dinner, Noah was forced to eat, but she took a moment alone to throw up her food. At that moment, the scene shifted to Steve dragging Molly to the operating room. At the same time, Polly started to worry because Molly hadn't contacted him, so he decided to close the bar and move towards her. At that moment, Steve gave Noah some makeup and a dress and invited her to dinner again. So Noah, all made up and wearing the dress, received a very special invitation from Steve for dinner the next day. Despite the terrifying situation, Noah felt some relief because she was convinced that her plans to trap Steve were starting to work. The next day when she was ready, Steve took her to dinner, and he had prepared another victim's liver, specifically that of the third girl, Melissa, who was no longer there, leaving Noah as the only survivor in that situation. The horror almost killed Noah, especially when she discovered she had to eat remains of Melissa's body, fully aware that she could soon meet the same fate. Her fear increased at that moment when Steve revealed to Noah a horrifying collection of photos of all the girls he had killed, as terrifying evidence of his actions. Among the items Noah saw, she found something unexpected: Molly's phone. She immediately understood that Molly had tried to save her, but fell into Steve's hands. Steve appeared again, but this time he was holding a strange dish, part of another victim's body. Noah was forced to eat the horrific meal, but with a mix of cleverness and desperation, she suggested to Steve that they dance. As they spun to the music, Noah managed to lead him to the bedroom and began to execute her plan. In a moment of distraction, she bit Steve's arm violently, took his phone, locked the door, and ran. In a desperate attempt, Noah went to another room where she finally found Penny. Together they freed Molly and began planning their escape. When they thought Noah had reached a moment of safety, their relief was cut short when Steve freed himself and attacked them again. In a terrifying confrontation, they managed to distract him and escape outside, hiding behind the trees while Steve searched for them. When he reached their hiding place, he was ready to shoot Noah with his gun, but at the critical moment before he could fire, Molly and Penny bravely intervened and confronted Steve. In the end, they finished him off. During this tense scene, Paul arrived at the place, but when he heard the gunshots, he decided to leave quietly. At the same time, Anne and her servant, her husband, arrived. After inspecting the place, they discovered Steve's body. Anne, thinking carefully, ordered her servant to move the body to the freezer and started considering selling it. Then, the three girls, excited to escape, reached the main door but found it locked. Molly tried to make a call, but there was no signal, which frustrated her. Noah remembered she had taken Steve's phone during the confrontation and decided to go back and look for it. After finding the phone, Anne emerged from the darkness in a cold voice, thanking Noah for getting rid of Steve and saying it made her plan easier, but she announced that Noah had to die to prevent any future problems. A violent confrontation began between Noah and Anne. At the moment, Anne was about to overpower Noah. Noah, in a desperate move, stabbed her in the neck with the car keys. At that moment, Molly intervened and delivered a fatal blow, finishing her off. And that's the end of our story today. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe to see our upcoming summaries. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.